Told you at some point I was going to get rid of the white wall. And I guess I lied to you because the white wall is still there. But yeah, we're looking at a little bit of a different look here behind me. Do you like the new digs? I'm kind of feeling like Iron Man in this moment. I have a cool little table. I've got my computer here. I've got Raider Nation behind me, not only figuratively, but actually physically. And I'm here to talk about how I think the Las Vegas Raiders have a path to the playoffs. And it starts with checking out the schedule, taking some teams from the AFC that made the playoffs last year and getting rid of them because we need to fill a spot because we did not make the playoffs last year. It's going to take how many wins to get into the playoffs. These are all things we're going to discuss. But some of you have been telling me if I put some Raider stuff behind me, I was going to get more subscribers. Well, let's put that to the test. If you're a lurker, if you're new to the channel, or if you've been watching and have yet to hit that subscribe button because of the white wall behind me, well, guess what? We got some Raider stuff behind me. 70% of the people who watch my videos are not yet subscribed. Hit that sub button. We're trying to get to 10K before the new league year. It's coming rapidly. It's about 10 days away. We got one final push. And I got to tell you, I got an announcement coming up pretty soon for this channel. I'm going to need your guys' help with this big announcement. It's coming a few days from now. Just got the email. Get excited. Let's talk about the Raiders and if they can make the playoffs, and more so how they can make the playoffs. Before I get into which teams in the AFC I think have a chance of falling out of the playoff race and simultaneously talking about the schedule and which games we need to win, do I think we can make the playoffs? Absolutely. We could lean on our defense and hopefully Gardner Minshew, Aiden O'Connell, whoever makes the bulk of the starts this season, is able to just play point guard, distribute the football, hit the open guy. If that can happen and Luke Getsy is scheming Brock Bowers and Jacoby Devontae wide open, right? We can get to 10 wins. And 10 wins is, yes, exactly what I think you're going to need to get into the playoffs. Guaranteed. I think 9 could get you in there, but it's not an absolute guarantee. So, without further ado, I would like to hop into the AFC playoff picture last year. Here's the seeding on the left. We got Baltimore, Cleveland, Houston, Miami, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo. I think for us to safely get into the playoffs, assuming that, you know, teams like Baltimore, Kansas City, Houston, Buffalo, I think those are the teams that probably get in no matter what. Miami probably gets into. The teams I'm looking here to eliminate, and this is no shade to these teams, is Pittsburgh right off the bat. I do not think they're a playoff caliber football team. Mike Tomlin, no doubt about it, one of the best coaches in the National Football League. I think Pittsburgh is probably out. The other team that I have my eye on is the Cleveland Browns. They won the bulk of their games last year without Deshaun Watson. Are they going to be able to recreate what they did last year? I don't believe so. Those are the two teams I see falling out. Two sleeper teams I could see being like, well, you never know. Houston, I believe in C.J. Stroud. I believe in what they're building down there. But you never know about the sophomore slump with these types of quarterbacks. There's film on him now. We'll see how C.J. responds. I do believe they will make the playoffs, but you never know. Buffalo is also interesting. They lost Stephon Diggs. Matt Milano, I mean, there's just a lot going on out there. You know, 60% of the teams that make the playoffs miss it the next year. It's something crazy like that. You also have to keep in mind, you got teams like the Cincinnati Bengals who missed the playoffs last year. Are they going to miss it again? The Jets with Aaron Rodgers. You never know how the Chargers are going to be. There's a lot going on, but I think for right now, there's going to be at least 2 spots open for the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't foresee us winning the division. Let's get that off the table right now. It's possible, but I think as of right now, it's not entirely likely. But if we head over to the schedule, which is really what I'm going to break down here, this is how we can discuss a path to the playoffs. And I'm not doing my final win-loss yet, okay? That'll be coming soon, and that has to do with the announcement I'm going to make in a few weeks. But if we're going to talk about making the playoffs here, we're got to talk about a couple of games that we no doubt about have to win. Right now, I think to make the playoffs, we have to beat the Broncos twice, which I believe we can. That's 2 wins right there. Then we have to at least split with the Kansas City Chiefs and at least split with the Los Angeles Chargers. That's 4 wins. Then you have to go down the schedule here and look at teams that you have at least a chance of having a better quarterback than. And there's not going to be many, but we'll say Bryce Young. That's a win. We'll say Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a win. And I'm not saying these are guaranteed wins. I'm saying these are games you have to win probably to get into the playoffs. Then you got a team like the New Orleans Saints, Derek Carr, Gardner Minshew. I don't know. That's 7 right there. There you go. There's 7 games you probably need to win to really do a playoff push. And then the rest of the games that you got to go down where you have a disadvantage at quarterback, do you have an advantage defensively that is so much greater than the team that you are playing that you could win those games? So we're at 7. Now let's go down here. Cleveland Browns. I think their defense is maybe a hair under ours, but just as good. So I'm not going to automatically say, bang, that's a win. Los Angeles Rams. Our defense is better than the Rams' defense, but their offense is so good, and Matthew Stafford is such an elite quarterback that I'm not going to say, bang, that's a guaranteed win. The Cincinnati Bengals, I believe our defense is better, and the health of Joe Burrow is something to keep in mind. That could be a question mark, so I'll put a question mark about the Bengals. Dolphins, same thing. Our defense is substantially better than theirs. Their offense is good, but we showed that we can battle with them last year. Again, question mark on that one. Tampa Bay. That's a game where I think Baker's better than Gardner. I think we have better players and weapons. That's a game you got to win. That gets you to 8. Then this last stretch here, you have Falcons, Jaguars. Let's say you split one of those and lose the other, okay? So now we're at 9, right? That gets you to 9 wins. Does 9 wins get you in the playoffs? I don't know. Then, again, if we're splitting the Falcons, right, and we're splitting the Jags, it goes back to those question mark games. The Rams, the Bengals, the Dolphins. Those games, you got to find a way to win one of those 3 games. Again, assuming you split with the Chargers, you split with the Chiefs, you sweep the Broncos, you beat the likes of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you beat either the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Atlanta Falcons, and you beat the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Carolina Panthers. Look, to get into the playoffs, you're going to have to win games. And a lot of them, more often than not, you're going to have to win more games than you lose. This is, again, not rocket science. The issue that we're going to run into here is, can Gardner Minshew keep the train on the tracks? These are the things we have to discuss. And this schedule here is not easy, but it is also not the most difficult. And you also have to remember, there are teams on the schedule every year that you go, oh, that's a win, that's a win. Last year, Houston, that's a win. All of a sudden, they're one of the better teams in the National Football League. There are also games where you're like, ooh, that's going to be a tough game. And all of a sudden, Joe Burrow's after the year, and the Bengals is an easy dub, although they won a lot of games without Joe Burrow last year. It's hard to tell right off the bat what is it going to take to get into the playoffs. But looking at this schedule on paper, I do think it's possible. But this is not a season where we could lose games against teams we should beat. If we lose to the Broncos once, assuming Bo Nix isn't the second coming. If we lose to the Carolina Panthers, that's a problem. I think if we lose to the Tampa Bay Bucks, that's a potential problem. If we don't find a way to steal a game from the Jaguars or Falcons, that's another potential problem. There are going to be games that the defense is just going to have to carry Gardner, and I think that's the key, the road to get to the playoffs. The last thing I want to say about it is this. This season, the beginning of it, and AP said as much because he's talking about quarters, right? The first 4 games of the season. I think is going to be very telling for the rest of the year. I've already said what I think is actually going on with the quarterback situation. I think they gave Gardner the first 4 games because 3 out of those 4 games we were going up against elite front 4s and a very, very good front 7s if you want to throw the linebackers in as well. And I think whether or not Aiden is marginally better than Gardner, they went with the experience, who can win games on the road, and they went with the experience, who can escape the pocket, mobility, who can make the play off script, who has seen live NFL games at a more rapid, successful rate than the other, and that's Gardner Minshew. However, if those qualities that he possesses over Aiden do not translate to at least 500 after the first 2 games, meaning if we were 1-3 or 0-4, they are ripping the umbilical cord right off of Gardner and sticking it right onto Aiden. And we will see if we're 1-3, if Aiden could be that elite arm talent that he's shown from time to time, that elite decision maker that he's shown from time to time. Because right now, it wasn't so much better for them to go with him instead of Gardner. Can Gardner be that Chris Paul distributor instead of wanting to be that Steph Curry volume half-court shooter. The Raiders need to win 10 games, I believe, to guarantee a playoff spot. I think I've showed you the roadmap, assuming the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns fall out. Again, that's a big assumption. The Buffalo Bills are weird. You never know what could happen with teams like Houston or Miami. They feel like locks to make the playoffs. But again, the National Football League is the best soap opera on TV. You never, ever, ever know what's going to happen. And there's always teams that not only make the playoffs, that didn't make the playoffs last year, that didn't make the playoffs, but go from worst to first. So you never know. Maybe the Denver Broncos win 17 games. I don't foresee that happening, but you never know. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Mark your calendars for a couple days from now. I'm making a big announcement. Some people in the Discord already know about it. Speaking of the Discord, join it. Link in the description below. It's free. It's a big group chat where we're all talking, all subscribers. We just hit 50 members. That's very, very fun. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/ALLaBorde For $5 a month, you get your name at the end of the credits. You get early access. You get exclusive content to videos that are never going to be posted on YouTube. And for $10, you get a YouTube advisory from me and ad-free versions of all these videos. Please be sure to subscribe. It's free after all, no charges to you. I love you guys, and I'll see you next time.